if we're gonna start talking about orgasms, we're gonna leave out the best part.
This is Canon Fodder, episode 45. Live from Scotland again to discuss Hogwarts and My Immortal. And the clunkiness of that intro was intentional because this is the biggest piece of shit I've ever read. I brought on my friend Gio Pinichetti to torture him to discuss this piece because of how much respect I have for him. Sir, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good. We were just talking about women and the impossibility of simultaneous orgasm that is overcome by My Immortal. And not impossibility, but I guess like the improbability. I don't know, like because
Well, I
it's
mean, it's like,
yeah,
would two electrons ever be in the same place at once? No.
yeah. I mean, like there's definitely it's a possibility. It's just that I don't know, men and women operate sort of differently in that carnal act. And I'm just looking at like as we're talking, I'm looking up old I know like the one famous picture of her with the raccoon eyes makeup. But now apparently they have pictures where she's older and she's still rocking the goth. I mean, I guess like if that's your thing, like you're known for My Immortal, then it's sort of like you're spiritually owned by it and you really can't um get past it. So apparently one of these like bread tubers or not like bread like like lit tubers, they're sort of
Right.
like bread tube adjacent like that strange aeons woman. And it's funny cuz like I always argue with Kat about this because Kat likes strange aeons. She's like, maybe we can have her on the show. I'm like, no, like she's not gonna go on a show with a virulent right wing frog. It's not gonna happen. But this what's her name? Tara Gillespie is she's 2-hour video reviewing My Immortal. We probably could go for 2 hours, Tara
Oh,
Hudson.
easily we could do 2 hours on My Immortal and everything else under the sun.
No, sorry, the author is Tara Gillespie, but this
Yes.
bread tuber is Danny something, millions of views. Just yeah. Oh, actually, no, it's a small channel, only 1,000, but it's got like a lot of views because of this. I actually never read. I didn't physically read My Immortal. The way I read My Immortal was listening to, and I know he's like a shitlib, but like I listened to the whole series by Bren Daniel. Do you remember the reader YouTubers back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's how I listen to My Immortal because Bren Daniel. I remember just like the one part near the end. I guess spoiler alert. It's going to spoil the whole thing.
Oh, no spoiler alerts here. Just go.
Yeah, like the one part at the end, he's like, my God, I hope it's not Marty McFly." Then Marty McFly comes with the time machine, and she's like, "Fuck, it's over, it's over." Oh man, that was such a. You could tell like she probably like was like watching some movie channel
Yep.
and it had like the reruns like Peachtree TV or whatever.
There's so much crap like that in this. And okay, let's pause for a second to explain what the hell we're talking about.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Tierra Hudson.
So
My Immortal?
in the early 2010s,
Or no, early 2000s or 2010s?
I think it was the 2010s because I first heard
I think it
about
was
this
mid
when I was in
2000s. It
high
was like
school.
2006 to 2005.
Okay, we'll
Oh,
call
I
it
was
that.
in high school at that time. Yeah, I was in high school in
We'll
2006.
call it late Bush, the late Bush years.
Yeah,
Uh,
the
there
late Bush.
was there was an explosion of fan fiction material on the internet, and it was anything from like middling to total shit. And My Immortal was a fan fiction of Harry Potter that was completely gothed out. It was like if Harry Potter took place in a Hot Topic.
It was like the king of. It was like the king of nothing. It was yeah. It was like
It's a horribly written time capsule
it
of
really
the
is a
mid
time capsule.
2000s. So I wanted to have you on, sir, because one, I think you're like one of the only other people that knows of this. You know, or would at least cop to knowing about it. and also because of the frogs that I know, you are like the sort of internet sage. You know the deep lore on pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Uh, it's your gift and your curse, and I'm happy to exploit it.
Yeah, really, and plus, like, I'm an aging millennial, so it really like tugs at our heartstrings. We're both of the same age, so I'm 31 years old, so I was around in high school then, and this chick was, I think, young, probably, I'm assuming younger, because I remember in the liner notes in the original website that hosted it, which was it fanfic.com? Yeah,
I think it was, yeah.
fanfic.net. Yeah. She said she got her friend to help like proofread it, but there's no proofreading. There's oh my god. It's like the most I can't even compare it to this because it's just going to enrage people. It's sort of like when Gabe on Sidebar, who is my spiritual wife's son, Gaben, he compared Skibbity Toilet to Proust, but I'm like,
No,
but
no. Okay, so if Skibbity Toilet is Proust, this is Ulysses-esque.
yeah, yeah, no, but what I was gonna compare it to was, it's sort of like William S. Burroughs when he wrote Naked Lunch. His editor
Mm,
like literally chopped off 300 pages because he was getting high on LSD all the time, and he was like bombing on acid, and he like just was writing gibberish, and his editor's like, I can't publish this. Like,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's either Burroughs or it's the internet fan fiction equivalent of James Joyce.
Yeah, exactly. It basically is it's okay. It's like what people consider, why am I even saying this? I feel perverted for even saying this, but it's sort of like what people they take the Joseph Campbell interpretation of Finnegan's Wake, that it's basically a key to all of Irish and sort of Anglosphere world history. It's basically a sort of Rosetta Stone to understanding Celtic history. My Immortal is the like Finnegan's Wake Rosetta Stone to understanding 2000s mall rat culture. It really is like
And
millennial mall rat
you
culture.
you could
Yeah.
even you could take that a little farther and even say that it's the Rosetta Stone to millennial writing, because
Yes.
all of the
Yes.
tropes are there,
Yeah.
right?
Bisexuality,
There
polyamory.
the deep irony, like nothing
Yeah.
can ever be serious. I think there's like at the end of like one chapter, Draco Malfoy kills himself, and then lol so random he doesn't.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then like Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenway. That's the this is the main character's name.
yes, I was gonna read
Yeah.
chapter one if you would
Yeah.
indulge me real
Like
quick.
she always is never serious. She's always like like she's sort of like catty and dismissive of everything. And so the username for the author, Tara, or what was her name, Tara Gillespie, was XXX bloody wrists, and there's no W, it's with an RISTS 666 XXX. Given their name is Tara Gillespie, September 2017, someone claimed to be the author, updated a fiction press account stating that she had created an active Tumblr. So there was like an authorship war going on, because you have to remember, kids, okay, you have to remember, Zoomers, back in the day, it wasn't like nowadays with social media with everything is locked down, in more or less, right? But it's back in the day, you really had to people could become like a lurker, and it was very easy to like pretend to be somebody else, and you know what I mean, like it wasn't like what we have nowadays, where even people are known by their pseudonymous accounts. But back then it was very like fluid, and everything was decentralized, and if someone was posting something on like fanfic.com.net or like literotica or whatever, like nobody really knew who they were until they like,
The content
yeah,
took over, or the content was chief over, say, the personality.
yeah, the brand,
There
the
was there yeah,
brand,
there was no branding. You know, the closest
yeah,
you had was, there were a few
bloggers,
yeah, a few bloggers, Moldbug is probably chief among them, along with
Humdog,
others. There was oh, Chris not Christopher Poole. Yeah, Christopher who ran 4chan.
Yeah, Moo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the first e-girl, Boxy,
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Well, actually, Cracky Chan predates Boxy. Did Boxy die?
No.
No, but her character, yeah, her character. But no, but the first I would say true e-girl, but she wasn't a girl, she was a black woman, was I would say Humdog. And if you wanted to talk about someone who took blogging into as like a brand, this was like back in the Usenet and the Well days. Nobody remembers the Well. Apparently the Well still has a user base of old boomers, but you have to pay for it. But the Well was sort of like the very first quote unquote social media site where it was a forum board, but you had like chat rooms attached to them.
Mm.
So Humdog became a very prolific internet writer. And if you want to learn about Humdog, I did a whole episode with Default on Content Minded on Humdog, and then a subsequent episode on the Computer Room before I became a co-host of the Computer Room. And if you look up, he actually came on my show. He's a very popular internet historian. If you look up Ludlow, what's his first name? Peter Ludlow. You look at Peter Ludlow, he is one of the foremost thinkers and historians of the internet, and he talks extensively about Humdog and writes about her, and she really was a pioneer. So yeah, you could say the content was like really superseded anything.
Now,
And a lot
I
of
have a
people long for
question.
those days.
I guess
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Treasure.
guess I have a point disguised as a question. Do
Yeah.
you think that the fall of forum culture and really internet forums in general is the reason that we now have brands and personalities? The social media pretty much took over forum culture, I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
Well, yeah, because now, okay, to be brutally honest with you, me and you, we weren't exactly of the age of the forum.
Right.
How old are you, TR Hudson? You must be about 30, right?
Yeah, I'm 30.
Well, I'm a year older than you. We were the first children of social media, the core millennials.
Right.
And I sort of remember forums. I definitely was a lurker on 4chan. Not that like, because you gotta remember 4chan was different before Gamergate. 4chan, there was a huge right wing like white nationalist presence, and there's a lot of leftoids that like
It
to
was
like
always
yeah
in its dedicated thread, and
anarchistic and
it was there was that was the thing. When 4chan was quote unquote healthy, if it ever was healthy,
never.
but I
Still like
guess
there was still like child prawn, and there was still
oh
like
totally
rec
horrible
threads. Yeah, terrible.
terrible
Chinese lathe machine videos. You know,
but I guess when it wasn't so, because now I've gone back like a handful of times and it's
yeah,
just so cursed, and
it's full of bots and feds.
yes, it's all bots and feds. But when there was an actual user base, there were new threads popping up all the time, taking out old threads, and you would have maybe one ongoing thread on the whole board, right? It wasn't like 50 Wignat threads and then the rest are fed honeypots. It was one of this, one of that,
Or like just veiled cuck prawn. Yeah.
right. And as any healthy freshman aged young man like myself saw at that age, it really grew me up to what the internet was.
Yeah.
For better or worse, and probably for worse. I mean, just based on how my life is kind of played out. But yeah, the forum culture, because you also see this in Tumblr as well, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weirdly enough, because there might have been like a few famous Tumblr posters, but otherwise it was just commentary. The everything was done in the comments, in the threads, in notes. I don't even know what were they Tumblr, what Tumblr posts. I don't know.
Tumblr was much more image based. It was all about
Mhm.
the image and the repost. Yeah.
all that is to say is that My Immortal is dead smack in the middle of that.
Yeah, the transitionary
And
period.
you
Yeah.
can't you can't divorce the two, but you also can't understand My Immortal in any other context. I'm going to go ahead and read this first chapter, or attempt
Well,
to read it, or go
before
ahead.
before
Yeah,
you do,
sure.
yeah, I do have a point about that though, because I would say that I was much more acquainted with 4chan, and My Immortal is very much a product of the MySpace days. I mean, MySpace was really popping off in terms of youth culture. If you were like more of a chud, you were sort of like into new metal and then eventually metalcore, like that type of like scene subculture. This a lot of bands became very popular, especially in Canada, my neck of the woods. This is when uh Billy Talent became popular. This is when System of a Down became even more popular. This is when bands like Jobs for a Cowboy and The Faceless came about. But if you were like a girl on MySpace, you were like in these hardcore fandoms, and you were also going to forums as well. But I would say that I was never that much acquainted with Something Awful that predates 4chan.
Mm.
And Something Awful, of course, had their own unique culture, and it was still very much faceless. Like if you look at any like big irony leftist or even like left-way journalist or quote unquote weird Twitter person, like Chapo Trap House tiered people, they were on Something Awful. And
Yeah, it's weird.
4chan,
It's weird how
yeah,
that was, the first Coke versus Pepsi sort of divide.
yeah, yeah. And the thing is, like, a lot of people on 4chan, they created like the frogs and other forums as well, like MPC, Salo forums, but 4chan culture
The
pretty much
bodybuilder.com
bodybuilder,
forums.
yeah, bodybuilder forums.net. Like this created the frog culture that we all migrated to Twitter. But then Something Awful, that was like the cultural reaction of the millennial irony left. And then Tumblr, of course, created this sort of like apparatus around what we would term SJWs, which is an antiquated term. I guess you could say general wokeness among millennials and Zoomers, that then TikTok filled the void. And of course, Twitter, under Elon especially, has now become very much more a plaything of the frogs. But so forum culture, what I was going to say before you read My Immortal is that you have to realize that social media presented, and I know again this sounds like a post-left argument, but it sounds like Tinksorg is saying this, but it's true nevertheless, that social media presents a form of commodification of identity that forum culture deeply resisted and couldn't
Mm.
be marketable on a mass scale. Forum culture was too chaotic. Forum culture was too much predicated on the actual quality of what's being put out there rather than subsuming your identity around what you are posting. And as soon as you enter this age of the identity complex on the internet, that is an optimal condition to not only corporatize, but to homogenize to a great degree all things, all websites, the surface web. Whereas
I,
forums deeply resisted that because you never knew what you were getting when you entered a forum.
and I
So
think
that's just my little,
forums
yeah.
were also, esoteric. They were, we were also just at a, it was quote unquote, it was a different time.
Yes.
I
Yeah, very
remember I
much so.
remember I was in middle school, and I was in line to go to a movie theater with some friends to see, I don't even know, some shitty movie, right? And there were these high
Super
school,
bad.
sure, why not? And there were these
uh,
high school kids in front of us, and they looked like total losers, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And I heard one of them say "LOL" out loud, right? Like they
Yeah.
they were they were using text speak in IRL, in real, like, and I say that sort of
And
tongue in
that guy
cheek.
transitioned, and you said you will never be a woman to him years later on Twitter. So,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, no, circle of life,
yeah. Yeah.
but it's just interesting that, like, there was a huge divide until probably the mid 2000s, really until probably after Obama, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the
Social
internet
media created
became real life.
Obama. Yeah.
You know, it there's always that, people post online, like, go touch grass, the internet isn't real life. No, the internet is kind of more than real life
It's
now.
hyper real. Yeah.
Yeah. The
No, but yeah, go ahead, Terry.
no, please go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, my theory is that 2012 actually did happen. That even though, again, he is another like libtard, but Daniel Pinchbeck, the psychedelic writer who ran Reality Sandwich. I haven't been Reality Sandwich in years, but I remember on that other podcast I was on, we interviewed him, and he got very mad at Owen Cyclops, questioning his use of psychedelic substances, because Owen Cyclops had been a psychonaut for many years, but then gave it up. But he wrote this book about 2012, and people got very mad at him because, of course, 2012 came and nothing happened, man. Nothing ever happens. But my theory is that in some kind of like weird metaphysical way, 2012 actually did happen.
I mean, we haven't left 2012.
Yeah. 2012 was a switch where, like you were saying, it was late term Obama, where the internet then took on this hyperreal speed, this sort of what Virilio would call, what does he call? I haven't read it in a long time. What he would call mojo politics, or let me look up this term because it's really bothering me. Virilio, he called it demeropolitics. Something like, he had dromopolitics. There you go. Where time, our perception of time and world events speed up. But is it that we perceive things as being faster? Or is that because of the internet, because more people are terminally online than ever before, and this is when internet use, the big jump was in 2003. Then 2012 was another big jump where now the world started to integrate into the internet and people started taking it seriously. And then YouTube at that time allowed people to create pop culture rather than pop culture. Because if you were around like the early YouTube days, the MySpace days, mainstream culture was still the predominant
right.
source.
Your MySpace page, people
Yeah.
would go onto your page and you'd be playing, your favorite song or something.
Yeah. And so, for example, if you go to old Jib Jab animations on YouTube,
Right.
they're all talking about mainstream news items, and those news items would stick with you for months. But now news items stick with you for a week. Did you know that Donald Trump was almost assassinated?
I'd heard that.
Right. You heard it, right? But if someone tried to assassinate George W. Bush, I mean,
we still hear about the stupid shoe thing. Somebody threw a shoe at George W. Bush, and he like dodged it. And
that guy's on Twitter talking about Palestine right now. He got out of the black site somehow. I don't know.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, and apparently George W. Bush, he's going on. He's rumored to be going on. I could be wrong because we're recording this.
I hope to God that it's true.
Yeah, it'd be so funny to see him at the DNC. It'd be so funny. They used to call him an Austrian painter back in the day. People remember that.
But then he gave some candy to Michelle Obama, and now he's Wholesome Chungus painting.
Yeah, he paints portraits of migrants now. So people don't remember this, but some people do. But news was very slow. But the dromology of news, perhaps because now more people are aware, and awareness. This is like Hegelianism in some weird ways. The awareness of absolute spirit, the awareness of absolute happenings, means that our perceptual matrix of time speeds way up to where we think that, okay, it happened a month ago, but in Butler County. But it feels like Trump was almost assassinated 1,000 years ago.
Right. So the last, it might have even been 2 years ago. My brain is so full of happenings, but like the island of Maui burned down.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's, it doesn't even have to be a political thing. Like with Trump, you could argue that, the mainstream press don't want to cover it, so they
buried it. Yeah,
they'd rather pretend it didn't exist. But
it was Maxwell Yerrick. Sorry. Okay. Maxwell Yerrick.
But with
do not research.
With Hawaii, it's like that's like the most apolitical subject you could think. Everybody knows what Hawaii is, right? Very blue state, sure, but it's like one of the most beautiful places in America, if not the world. right?
Yeah.
And it's a natural disaster. You would think that that would have gotten it a week, maybe 2 weeks of coverage. I don't e All right, here's a question for you. Do you think that 9/11 would get 2 weeks of coverage to if it happened today?
Um, I would say, okay, I remember 9/11, and it had months and months and months of coverage.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say it would last perhaps a month or 2 months nowadays, because most social media influencers live in New York or California. So if a lot of like influencers happen to get clipped, then maybe it would last a few months, but it
But
would
then
be
who would
nowhere
be there to
near.
tell us about it?
Exactly, because it would be nowhere near like when I remember the first 3 months of after 9/11. That's all you heard about. You tuned to the news, it's like you heard it everywhere, right? It was ubiquitous. It was the feeling that captured the Western world and perhaps the world in general. There are people that live in places like the Philippines or um, even places in Africa that know about 9/11. But I think that, well, Hawaii thing, I think that was probably purposely buried because there's a lot of rumors that local officials exacerbated the deaths by
Right.
not allowing people to get off the island.
And then there's
Yeah,
also the theory that it
real
was
estate.
it was a direct energy weapon,
Yeah,
fired at the island in order to create a real estate, uh yeah,
there
yeah.
there was some like weird BlackRock connections in
Mm,
Hawaii. Yeah, yeah, but let's not.
yeah,
We've talked a lot about the.
yeah, folks, I hope you didn't actually plan to listen or to hear about My Immortal. Uh,
Oh, but don't worry, you will. It'll happen. It's just we
you're
have
gonna
to.
wish we were talking conspiracy theories in a minute.
Yeah, no, but but yeah, Maxwell Yarrick, Maxwell Yarrick, Maxwell Yarrick. Anyways, let's move
Oh, wow,
on.
he just popped up behind me.
Oh no. Um. Anyways, let's move. So, but this is a preamble to establish for those who are younger what the internet was like back in the day, and it really is something different than what we have nowadays, where something as monumental as them trying to assassinate a former president in a very politically intense environment. Nowadays, I mean, it feels like, who is that guy? That one guy? Who is that guy? I forget his name.
The Palestinian protester guy?
Yeah, what's his name?
Aaron Bushnell.
Bushmaster? Aaron
Eh,
Bush. Yeah,
I'm the only
I'm being
first of
cruel.
all,
I'm being cruel. I
first of
remember Aaron Bush
I
now.
know, but
Yeah.
first of all, the fact that you didn't even mention Palestine, but I thought, who's a guy who everyone has forgotten? Ah, that guy.
Aaron Bush now. He's like known as being forgotten, rather known for sacrificing himself for Palestine. Yeah.
There's an X-Man, like from the X-Men comic books, and his whole thing is that his power, his mutation was that he was always forgotten.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, yeah, and Professor X had to create a psychic reminder for himself to remember that the guy existed.
Oh my God.
And then at like the end of a mission, he died, and everybody at the end of the comic is just like, "Well, it's a good thing nobody died on this mission."
That's like Frank Grimes in The
Yeah,
Simpsons.
yeah, yeah,
Homer
yeah.
just like, yeah. Marge, this is
Frank Grimes' last words are "Free Palestine."
Will you let you
Change the
listen to?
channel, Marge.
And then he just lowers in shame. He lowers himself into the grave. Oh, that was terrible. I talked about that with my best friend once, who's very into animation. And he's like, that's probably the saddest, most like the realest Simpsons episode ever. Even though the Millennial writers try to do like, Simpsons is a real serious drama now where they're reflecting on their lives and how they care about each other. It's like, fuck off. Like,
No,
oh,
no,
sorry, I'm not allowed to swear.
no. You're good. I mean,
If you want to edit this,
I'll
I
either.
edit all the.
I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put it on YouTube. My channel's so small that it
Yeah,
doesn't matter. We're not monetized or anything like that.
yeah, but no,
And
but like they try to do like, oh, the serious Simpsons, or like all these like video essayists, left coded video essayists. They're like, yeah, and they themselves are aging millennials. Oh, the Simpsons is good again. The Simpsons. I tried watching a new episode of The Simpsons. I just couldn't do it. It was just not. Anyways, let's move on. So, My Immortal. Does The Simpsons come up in My Immortal?
I
Probably
don't
not.
remember. Probably not. It was too prep.
Yeah, it was too preppy. Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is really funny because, of course, Bart Simpson, in the 90s or in the early 90s, Bart Simpson was the
everywhere.
the punk rock
Yeah,
mainstream character.
he was on planes that bombed Kuwait City. Like he was everywhere. Like it.
Saddam Hussein met Bart Simpson through a bomb in his roof.
Yeah, like he. Yeah, Osama bin Laden. You wouldn't believe what was on his hard drive. It was an edit of Bart Simpson. Um, it was an edit of Bart Simpson dancing with George W. Bush or something like that. So no, but My Immortal. Do you remember when like I think because of Harry Potter and because of Twilight, there was a like weird intersection of like goth chicks, uh, goth girls being intersected with preppy girls.
Hmm.
Do preppy women like do Zoomers know what prep girls are, or do they
No,
have
no,
like
they
a totally
probably think it's
different?
some sort of AIDS thing.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, do they have like the popular girl trope still or no?
I don't know. I'm
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 not
a
a
little
Zoomer. I
younger than
don't.
you. Yeah,
I should
yeah.
have asked Solion when
Yeah,
he was on
yeah.
my
We'll ask
podcast.
Gabe.
I'll ask Gabe. Yeah, I'll ask Gabe. It's just I don't because like we had like I think Zoomers don't have like those very fine
They don't have clicks
delineations.
anymore. No, no, they have. It's all sort of a soup.
Yeah, kind of like their demographics in a way.
Right, right.
That's terrible, man. That's
Well, there
I'm
is
sure they have
one
Swifties,
click.
don't they?
Well, no, there's one click. He is a lone wolf on the edge of the school, and he's playing pumped up kicks to himself.
Yeah, he's playing negative XP and pumped up kicks, and he is playing egg white and yeah. So it's not like when I was a kid, like there was very fine delineations. Um, but it was also regional. I think like regionally you don't have that too, because like for example, if you were a Canadian millennial growing up, you had kind of like a different vibe than American millennial. We had different forms of culture and stuff like that. But nowadays, like you know what I mean? Like I don't know, it's different now.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been meaning to talk to a Canadian about your country and
Oh
when
yeah.
when the was it Pierre Trudeau that really started the delineation between, because like
Yeah.
pre Trudeau, let's say, the Canadian is thought of as really just a more tough American.
Yeah, an extension of the British subject as well.
Yes, and also, but also like
Or a
you
Quebec,
you
a
you
Quebec
you think
is
the
different.
World
Yeah.
War One, World War Two generation Canadians, hell, there's famously a bunch of Canadians that enlisted in the American military during the Vietnam War,
Yes.
who
Yes.
performed, they were outstanding. And was it Pierre Trudeau's government that really started that change in the perception of
Um.
Canadian wimpiness?
It was. It was a variety of factors. Of course, Pierre Trudeau was the final nail in the coffin. But if you read George Grant's Lament for a Nation, now George Grant he taught McMaster University, fairly close to where I live.
Mm,
I mean, Hamilton's about like I don't know 30 minutes away, whatever. But he said that it was essentially the Americanization of Canada that really landed the sort of like newer form of like modern industrialization and liberalism, because Canada was sort of always an agrarian outpost for the British and for the French, and the Canadians were known as more quietist but also rough and tumble. I mean, this is why hockey is so like basically. I mean, it's not officially our national sport, but it's basically our national
right,
sport.
right.
Um, so
Yeah, always really
yeah,
polite guys just beating the shit out of each other.
yeah, exactly. And if you were a millennial in Canada and you were a millennial that grew up in Ontario, that was when hockey was amazing. That was when Toronto Maple Leafs were the Bay Street Bullies. The Flyers, the Broad Street Bullies.
Right, right.
Bay Street Bullies, like Toronto had so many shooters. They had like Ty Domi,
I know, but I mean,
Darcy
before that, you
Tucker.
had the great one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, he
Gretzky.
he never really got into fights. I think
Oh, well, Wayne
he probably
Gretzky.
scrapped a little bit.
There was one fight, I think, before he was signed to Edmonton that he got into a fight. He actually won. But no, Wayne Gretzky did not need to get into fights because
No, no.
he had okay, look at the guys around him. Mark Messier, Dave Semenko, and Marty McSorley. And Marty McSorley traveled with him to LA. And so Wayne Gretzky like didn't need to fight because he had these psychos that were like willing to just bust teeth out at the drop, especially Marty McSorley was just willing to like bust teeth at a drop of a hat. It was hilarious. But I shouldn't say that because Marty McSorley actually was charged criminally for bashing in with his stick in the head and giving him a severe concussion. What was his name? Donald Brashear, who was the enforcer for, I want to say was he on the Oilers or the Flyers? I forget.
Probably the Flyers because
Yeah. I don't know because LA was still in the Western Conference.
Mm.
And Brashear, he traveled quite a bit. He was with the Canadians for a long time. He was with the Flyers for a long time. But no, anyways, the point being is that so we're see, you got to derail me with the hockey discussion.
I
Might as well
listen.
just bring up
This
wrestling, right?
this whole vanity project that I've constructed is all about tangents. So you're good,
Yeah.
man.
But so the point being is that in the 1950s, you had certain events like the Diefenbaker, the missile crisis during the Cold War, where Canadians did not want to accept American missiles on our border. And so it's called Lament for a Nation by George Grant, where he writes about the Americanization of, like, the liberal Americanization of Canada would fundamentally distort our political spectrum. Because before, Canada was divided between people that were considered like the liberalizers, that were more forward thinking or whatever you want to call it, that were basically what we have today, which is sort of like a weird bastardization of the American political system, but through a parliamentary first past the post lens.
Mm.
But by all intents and purposes, in terms of our political culture and in terms of our culture in general, we basically are very heavily Americanized. But before that, when it came to the quote unquote right wing in Canada, when Canada did have a right wing, it was known as High Toryism. High Toryism was all about deference to the crown, about our colonial past, about tariffs, trade clause, protectionism. There were some parties in the West that entertained the big E word, if you know what I mean. Starts with an E, ends with Genix. So Canada, Bill Aberhart's Social Credit, that's the party in Alberta. So Canada was, by definition, in some ways, more right wing than America in terms of the old world sense. But with Pierre Trudeau, because of his weird abandonment of a lot of British precedent, because of his inspiration by French legal theory, because of his sort of swaying, even though he would later become like a huge gadfly to America, especially with Richard Nixon. He hated Nixon. Nixon hated him. But he really adopted full steam, and George Grant predicted this, the full like liberalization and Americanization of Canada. And so now, in a weird way, Canada is more left-wing than America.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
and with especially jump all the way to Obama and now all the way to potentially a Kamala Harris and Weirdo Walt's presidency, they are what I like to call the Canadianization of America. That they want the same form of like total managerial clocking on the discourse, total control over the media, and essentially the erasure of the right wing in America. Because Canada no longer has, because Canada, large part because of Pierre Trudeau, thinks of itself as not having an identity. Can you really have a right wing that isn't just like a LARPing of American conservatism? Because most of the right wing in Canada, if you can call it that, apart from identitarians that are in Quebec and so forth, or other like sort of like Wignac groups, but by the way, for the record, I have no affiliation with.
No, of course not.
Of course, yeah, the whole like meme thing of this diaglom bullshit. Like I don't know, like I have never talked to these people. listen, not that I
You're a
agree that.
scholar. You're
Well, not that I agree that they're being hounded by Antifa. Like literally everything they do, they're like hounded by Antifa, and because of the trucker thing, they were big. Like some of these guys were big in the trucker thing,
Mhm.
and they do have ties to like American white nationalist groups. But the thing is, though, if you are anyone in terms, if you are from the left or the right, inevitably, if you're Canadian, you're going to have ties to some American group. I technically have ties to all sorts of Americans. A Canadian libtard basically gets all of their talking points from their spiritual superiors, which is the blue state American Democrat. So Canada experienced this liberalization and this perverse Americanization to where we don't have an identity. So the state mandated model of what Canada is essentially now what Trudeau says it is, which is the quote unquote first post national country, the first multicultural state that lacks an identity. And this, out of all things, is what has eroded the potentiality for a right wing in Canada. Because if you don't have an identity, then what can you really preserve? What can you really,
what are you
yeah.
conserving? What are you?
So when Michelle Obama goes up there on the DNC and says that, how dare you not let in different people? Because what is an American? She actually said this.
Mhm.
What is an American? That is the same tactic they've learned from the petri dish experimentation zone, which is Canada, because they want to say that there's no such thing as an American, there's no such thing as an American identity, and in essence, we're going to import Canadian style state apparatus multiculturalism, or what I like to call transnational progressivism, into America. And that's basically the political dichotomy between us. Yeah.
Gotta love Big Mike.
Yeah, Big Mike. Like someone like didn't they got that Gorman where she's like hollowed America? Like
Yeah. The quote unquote poet.
poet laureate.
Right. Yeah.
That's the state of literature. Like, I mean, people they like to rag on the poet laureate system. They like to say, "Oh, they gave it to Ginsburg, and Ginsburg was a hack." Ginsburg, he actually was. No, listen, I don't support the cultural legacy of Ginsburg, but you know he was. If you listen to Michael Savage, he was. Allen Ginsburg was. Can I say this for YouTube? He liked a lot of cheese on his pizza, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And so this is what Michael Savage alleges, and there's some evidence to back it up. But Ginsburg was a force of nature in terms of poetry, and he was a creative guy. And I know people they don't like Howell or what. I personally enjoy Howell, but I mean, compared to Amanda Gorman, I mean, come on, like this is
right. I mean, like,
yeah.
there's. I understand that. Well, he wasn't even that good, so whatever. But like, I mean, we're talking about.
Speaking of things that are not that good.
Yeah. Speaking of the true poet laureate of America, I'm gonna read the first chapter now of My Immortal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have no transition for that.
You can't really. I mean, there's no.
There is an author's note at the beginning and at the end. So this is the author's note. AN special fangs, get it? Cause I'm gothic. To my GF, ew, not in that way. Raven.
Lesbiophobic. Yeah.
Bloody tears 666 for helping me with the story and spelling. You rock. R-O-K. Justin,
Whoa.
you're the love of my depressing life. You rock too. Exclamation point. MCR rocks with an X.
Oh my god.
That's the thing. My Chemical Romance is
that's core millennial culture right there.
Speaking of 9/11, everybody has to bring up that there wouldn't be a My Chemical Romance without if 9/11 didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because Gerard Way, like he wrote like his first album or something, because he saw 9/11 or something like that, right?
Is that true? Because that almost reminds me of like a Bakinski trying to bank on 9/11 for the disintegration loops. Like, you know, like in ambient music,
Yeah.
there's this, yeah, but
Yeah.
like
I'm thinking of like, oh, if I had a time machine, I'd be like, hey, Mr. McFarlane, you're gonna miss your flight.
oh, that'd be, oh my god. But you know what's crazy is that there was this like think piece I read recently about how like DJs are sampling My Chemical Romance, Welcome to the Black Parade, and they're doing like a revival tour because all the aging millennials have enough disposable income to like
Right,
go
right,
to,
because there's no children to
yeah, yeah. So like there's some of them, but like I remember I was driving one time and Welcome to the Black Parade came on. And when I was younger, when I was a kid, I hated this stuff. I hated it. Those emo garbage, right?
mhm.
But I listened to it, and it was that, and it was a, what was that very popular Sum 41 song?
I don't know. I didn't listen to popular music. I didn't like
Yeah,
I
me
was
neither. But
I
like,
was basically in hibernation through high school.
yeah, no, but like the very famous, I think it was Fat Lip. It was Fat Lip. And I remember I listened to this. I said, you know what? I'm not going to change. I'm not going to go to Jazz FM. I'm going to still listen to the butt rock station. And I listened to the Black Parade and Fat Lip, and I'm like, wow, this is, it brought a tear to my eyes almost, because this is like core millennial nostalgia. And I'm like, oh my god, like this is like, it's decent, you know. Not that I would like go out of my way to listen to it, but like, because I have like choice favorites from stuff that I listened to when I was a kid, like a lot of Canadian alt rock and new metal. But I'm like, wow, this is like a, yeah. I'm like, man, I can remember
Is
when I was
this
a
what it's
kid.
like when doves cry?
Exactly, because when you'd be on the bus and someone would have like a really crappy like speaker phone, whatever, and they'd like play a really obnoxious, annoying version, a lo-fi version of Welcome to the Black Parade, and I'm like, oh my god, man, that's like so many scene kids where I grew up in Ontario too. So that was another. But anyways, yeah, read on to your Hudson. This is like,
All right, that was the preamble, right?
yeah.
So here is chapter 1. Hi, my name is Ebony Darkness Dementia Raven Way, and I have long ebony black hair. That's how I got my name, in parentheses. With purple streaks and red tips that reaches my mid back and icy blue eyes like limpid tears, and a lot of people tell me I look like Amy Lee. If you don't know who she is, get the hell out of here. I'm not related to Gerard Way, but I wish I was because he's a major fucking hottie. I'm a vampire, but my teeth are straight and white. I have pale white skin. I'm also a witch, and I go to a magic school called Hogwarts in England, where I'm in the 7th year. I'm 17.
Oh, oh, me too. Gerard Way getting me too. Oh.
I'm a goth, in case you couldn't tell, and I wear mostly black. I love Hot Topic, and I buy all my clothes from there.
Wake me up inside.
For example, today
Save
I was
me.
wearing a black corset with matching lace around it and a black leather miniskirt, pink fishnets, and black combat boots.
There are so many autogynophiles that like this is their perfect woman that they
Yeah.
try to like become.
Oh, I mean, goths ruined me.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
really? Do you have
uh,
any personal stories?
nothing I want to share now.
Okay. Yeah. Ex-girlfriends?
Pretty much.
Oh boy. Oh man. A lot of like Latina chicks are goth now. A lot
Yeah,
of like,
that's weird. Like,
yeah, there's, yeah.
but I mean, I guess because like Mexico is like 10 years behind us.
They have anime. They love anime too.
They do. They really love Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So read on. This is
yeah. I
fascinating.
was wearing black lipstick, white foundation, black eyeliner, and red eyeshadow. I was walking outside Hogwarts. It was snowing and raining, so there was no sun, which I was very happy about. A lot of preps stared at me. I put my middle finger at them.
Preps.
Hey, Ebony, shouted a voice. I looked up. It was ... 4 dots. Draco Malfoy.
Draco Malfoy.
What's up? I said. Nothing, he said shyly. But then I heard my friends call me and I had to go away. That's the end of chapter 1.
Oh,
And then the postscript is, so it's capital is, it good, question mark, please tell me fangs. I kind of
yeah,
want to
she
read
was
chapter
apparently.
2 now.
Yeah, read chapter 2 because like she was writing. I think she included the liner notes so she was supposed to delete to like.
Yep.
She would like give to her friend to edit, but like she just forgot to delete them. So like sort of like how do you remember how Chris Chan? Do you know the lore about how he would write the like convoluted text? He would do the artwork. He would put it through a scanner, and then he would print out the sheets by putting the text on. But he didn't know how to do the traditional comic book order. So he would just switch up the order of the text randomly. So to like actually read the Sonichu comics was like not good. Wait, sorry, I have a phone call.
I'll pause it.
So
everything I know about Christian, I've learned
against
without my consent.
Oh my god. So I think like she was supposed to delete the liner notes, but she never got to it. Yeah.
Okay, this is chapter 2. Anne, fangs to bloody tears 666 for helping me with the chapter. BTW. Prep stop flaming my story, okay?
Oh my god.
Now and then okay, so every chapter, all the chapter notes are broken up with like a long line of X's, except this time, like right in the middle of the X's is just a 666.
Yeah.
This is cursed demonic nonsense, and I could only imagine what C.S. Lewis would do if he saw this.
No, but it's funny because like she's including the comments because I'm assuming like either there was a forum or comments that like these like mythical preps were like flaming,
yes,
like flaming her story that she was releasing.
Yes, it was so popular she had haters.
Yeah, I think that was actually real. Like she actually did have a lot of haters. Like when she was public, like by the time you get to like the middle chapters, like there was somewhat of a following that it had.
And this girl grew up to be Honor Levy.
No, don't insult the queen of dime squares because like my first book is actually quality, but so the even like in the Wikipedia page they have like a whole note on the style, awkward rhythms. So someone reviewed it in Vulture. Awkward rhythms, staged digressions, stultifying purple prose. Note that work is agonizing to a regular fan fiction reader because of all the hated tropes. And so it's really weird because My Immortal also, in a weird way, not only like being a time capsule of the culture itself, but was a time capsule of the way that people would spread discourse on the internet before there was social media. You'd have like comments and forums, and she would like be reading this stuff and saying like you preps are hating on me. Like it's a very weird it really does teleport you back to like 2006 2007 really. Yeah.
And okay, I'm gonna be cringe for a second.
Yeah.
But for every My Immortal, there are 50 other fan fictions that basically got greenlit into Hollywood movies.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
every trope of the self-insert character that is every single series is now just a self-insert character fan fiction. They recreate whether it's Star Wars, Indiana Jones, all the
Scooby-Doo with Mindy Kaling.
Oh god.
Yeah.
But like all the things that you liked as a kid, somebody really liked.
Yeah.
and
Mindy Kaling identified with Velma, and she wants to be a Indian femcel. That's
you know,
like
I don't know what's worse, giving the reins of something over to a hyper fan like Mindy Kaling, or giving the reins to somebody who doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. That's like WWE. A lot of their writers don't give a shit. So they
Yeah,
like, yeah.
you know, it's funny. I didn't know that Patrice O'Neill wrote for the WWE for a
Yeah,
while.
he wrote for a little bit. Yeah. I forget which angle he wrote for, but it was something like with the Divas, if I recall. So
That's
yeah.
like, man, you know, all right, R.I.P. to the first big chungus.
Yeah. I wonder if he wrote that storyline where Scott Steiner and Test were warring over Stacy Keebler. It was like one of the most misogynistic like, storylines ever.
And they were both
Yeah.
white, and they started calling each other the N-word. I don't know, maybe Patrice did do it.
No, Vince McMahon started dropping with the A's, hard A's. That one segment with John Cena, and then they just pan over to Booker T. He's like, and Booker T's with Charmel. He's like, I can't. Did he just say that? And it's like Booker T just had to take it. That was like when Booker T was at the Republican National Convention behind Hulk Hogan, and he just like had the most. Oh, it was funny. Anyways, go ahead.
All right. Okay. So this is the beginning of chapter 2. The next day. So okay. The next day, I woke up in my bedroom. It was snowing and raining again. I opened the door of my coffin and drank some blood from a bottle I had. My coffin was black ebony, and inside was hot pink velvet with black lace on the ends. I got out of my coffin and took a giant MCR t-shirt, which I used for pajamas. Instead, I put on a black leather dress, a pentagram necklace, combat boots, and black fishnets on. God.
What is she? How is she acquiring the bottle of? How's she acquiring blood? Is it sort of like Blade trilogy where it's like they're harvesting homeless people or something?
You know, something
Like,
tells me
yeah,
that she didn't put that much thought into it.
no.
Let's just say that there are some preps that are missing from Hogwarts.
Did like Deacon Frost have to acquire the preps for her or something? Their blood? I don't.
Hagrid collects
Hagrid,
preps.
Deacon Frost. I can't lie, man. Blade 1 and Blade 2 were masterpieces, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
if only he paid his damn taxes.
I know, man. Like, do you remember that one meme where it was where the in that scene in Twilight where what's his name? Robert Pattinson. What's the vampire's name?
Edward.
Edward. Yeah, he's glowing in the forest, and right behind him is Blade.
His blade with the swords, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was funny, man. That's that got shared around on MySpace, that image.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I put on 4 pairs of earrings in my pierced ears and put my hair in a kind of messy bun. Okay, so if on the spectrum of fan fiction, right? There's this, and then there's actually Twilight, which was
Yeah.
started out as a Harry Potter fan fiction.
Twilight was a Harry Potter fan fiction?
Apparently so. It started out that way. And now we have
Well, it's the same model though of
right.
teen
Oh,
literature.
yeah.
Teen
But
literature.
you know, it's really and I think 50 Shades of Grey is also
Yes.
another sort of fan fiction, and then I could just digress into the modern genre of woman's smut, and it's
We got to
literally
do a book talk episode one day. We got to read some of this stuff.
oh I think I'd die.
There was this one I remember. Fentanyl Blow Dart. He said like, yeah, man, you go to like Instagram or go to TikTok and type in dark literature, type in hashtag dark literature, hashtag book talk or whatever. And there was this ad of like this chubby woman who was like reading the smut and like she was in this like she was like giving this list of all the stuff that she's reading, and she has like this Giga Chad boyfriend that comes into the room. He's like, after you're done, honey, I'm in the bedroom waiting for you. It's like,
Oh God.
oh, that was so funny. That was like the first result that came up on Instagram when I saw that. But we have to do an episode of that. But anyway, where to even begin? There's like hundreds of books apparently of Indian code monkeys grinding out smut of a very Bob and Vagine. Yeah. Anyways, go.
Yes, and what was the BAP tweet about needing to be run over by a team of horses?
Yeah, need for explosion, trampled by horses and various animals. Yeah, Quan girl, need for explosion. Yeah. Oh.
That's poetry. He should be a poet laureate.
Oh yeah,
Anyway,
that's yeah. But so this is like yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my friend Willow, author's note. Raven, this is you. Woke up, then grinned at me. She flipped her long waist-length raven black hair with pink streaks and opened her forest green eyes. She put on her Marilyn Manson t-shirt with a black mini, fishnets, and pointy high-heeled boots. We put on our makeup, black lipstick, white foundation, and black eyeliner. So, okay, so at least she's consistent there.
Yeah, at least Marilyn Manson gets a shout out.
Right.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Oh man. Is he dead?
No.
His career is dead, but like not, you know.
No, I kind of wish he was, but no.
Yeah. But what's his real name again?
John Wayne.
Yeah. I can't believe that's his real name.
No, that's not his real name.
No, it's Marilyn. I remember his real name. I remember he was in that movie where he was like this like truck driver, but it was like a truck full of strippers and
No, I'm sorry.
Brian Hugh Warner. Brian Hugh Warner.
What a normal name.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up what was his he was in this film where it was like he was like he was a truck driver, but there was like strippers in the back, and that was like a weird film. It was like again early 2000s core. It may have been Party Monster. Was it Party Monster? Yeah. Anyways,
you should definitely torture Prude and watch that. Just kidding. Big Prudentialist fan. Please don't do that to my friend.
Oh, we do. Yeah. We've read some prolific. We've watched some prolific smut on.
Did actually a book talk digital archipelago episode would be fire.
Yeah, that would be.
The kids say.
Oh man.
Let me finish up this chapter.
Yeah.
OMFG, I saw you talking to Draco Malfoy yesterday, she said excitedly. Yeah, so, I said, blushing. Do you like Draco? She said, she asked as we went out of the Slytherin common room and into the Great Hall. No, I so fucking don't, I shouted. Yeah, right, she exclaimed. Just then, Draco walked up to me. Hi, he said. Hi, I replied flirtily. Guess what, he said. What, I asked. Well, Good Charlotte are having a concert in Hogsmeade, he told me. Oh my fucking God, I screamed. I love DC. They're my favorite band beside MCR. Well, do you want to go with me, he asked. I gasped. That's it. There's no author's notes for chapter 2, and I'm not going to read any more of this.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
But yeah, it's this, but then they add more characters and stupid shit happens, and it's not worth your time, but you definitely should read it.
No, if you want to laugh, like
Internet Historian has a really good series of videos where he and a few others read it out, and he has like, you know how he has his like weird animation style. Yeah. He's got a video series that does the whole thing. I recommend it.
I thought about this is from chapter 9. I thought about vampire and his sex. Like again, this is like leet speak for
coon-brained scene girls.
Coon-brained scene girl. They would be basically, these were like the original femgooners. They were before femgooners were a thing. These were it, right? I thought about vampire and his sexy eyes and his goth black hair and how his face looks just like Joel Madden. I remember that Draco had said I don't understand, so I thought, What if Draco went out with Vampire before I went out with him and they broke up? No, Voldemort, I shouted back. Voldemort gave me a gun. No, please, I begged. Thou must, he yelled. If thou does not, then I shall kill thy beloved Draco. I never really was that invested in Harry Potter. Wasn't
No,
Voldemort and
he's
Draco
they're
like a
like
tag team or no?
uh I don't remember. It's okay. So I think so. Voldemort's like the big bad,
Yes.
and Draco's the rival.
Yeah.
So
It's like heel versus heel.
yeah, but it's kind of like okay. So
No,
like
Draco becomes good after he has a face
yeah,
turn.
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so think about it. Think about it in terms of Dragon Ball Z.
Because
You you
Voldemort turns a work into a shoot, and therefore Draco had to do a face turn. He turned a work into a shoot.
right, sure,
Yeah.
sure, 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 sure.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
No, but in terms of in terms
Too much fun here.
in terms of Dragon Ball Z, think about it as Draco is Vegeta, and Voldemort is Frieza.
So they have to gang up. It's like, okay, we have a common enemy now, so you have to begrudgingly.
Yeah.
So Draco and Harry Potter, they have to begrudgingly tag team.
Not that not that explicit, but sorta kinda.
Yeah, oh well, I'll stay out of your way because it's like a bigger. I guess because all the houses of Hogwarts were trying to fight Voldemort, so
Yeah, except for
yeah.
Slytherin. The house Slytherin basically got sent to Abu Ghraib.
Extrajudicial rendition for Slytherin.
They had like a sort of Chinese exclusion act.
Yeah, they sort of yeah, they're
let's round up all the evil ones and put them in the dungeon.
They got Cambodia. Yeah, it's like that's
very much. Imagine your Japanese dentist during World War II.
Yeah, all the Q Patriots had to send them to Gitmo. Yeah.
Yes. Real Patriots. They did a January 6th at Hogwarts. and now
Slytherin. Yeah. What if January 6th actually worked? Yeah.
The Q shaman was at Hogwarts, and
yeah, was Harry Potter the Q shaman?
Probably. Fuck it.
Well, you ever watch that movie where he's like a neo-Austrian painter, Imperium?
No, I haven't.
They apparently when they had the book sale, they didn't even
wasn't that? I thought that was
Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh no, I thought it was our guy. Literally me.
No. Ryan Gosling did The Believer.
Oh, okay.
But this is but instead of The Believer, where he's a Jewish man that is a neo-Austrian painter, this is where Dan Radcliffe's an actual Fed, and he infiltrates this group. And when they did the book sale, they didn't even show the book that the film was named after, Francis Parker Yockey. So it's anyways, no, so basically, what was I gonna say? Yeah, Voldemort got a dude. First of all, no scene girl would say this nowadays, but Voldemort got a dude, you're so retarded look on his face. I have telekinesis. Oh, he's saying I have. That's the only poetic word she knows. He answered cruelly, and if you if you doth not kill vampire, then thou know what will happen to Draco, he shouted. Then he flew away angrily on his broomstick. He didn't have a fucking broomstick. I was so scared and mad, I didn't know what to do. Suddenly, Draco came into the woods. Draco, I said, hi. Hi, he said back to his face and said, I'm trying to find the sex scene where they touch each other's thingies. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, that's
chapter.
I can't wait to look this up. It might have been chapter 12 question. No, I think it was chapter 11.
Okay, yeah, it was just there. Okay, chapter 11. AN, I set stop forming up preps. See if this chapter is stupid. chapter is Serpud. It deals with really serious issues. SPC4 yourself.
No,
If
it wasn't chapter 11. I'm just gonna.
Okay, yeah. Let me just chapter 12 to 22. I'm trying. Okay, let me. My Immortal. Okay, let me Google this. My Immortal fanfic sex scene.
Oh, chapter 4. Yeah, because then there's then he put his thingy into my you know what and redid it for the first time.
Ah! Suddenly, just as Draco kissed me passionately, Draco climbed on top of me, and we started to make out keenly against the tree. He took off my top, and I took off his clothes. I even took off my bra. Then he put his thingy into my you know what, and we did it for the first time. Oh, oh, oh! I screamed. I was begging to get an orgasm. We started to kiss everywhere. My pale body became all warm. Then, what the hell are you doing, new fucker? It was Dumbledore.
No, it
Dumbledore.
was, and then like 7 pauses.
Yeah.
Dumbledore,
So
like it's
Dumbledore,
who's
like,
that Pokemon?
you ludicrous fools! He shouted. I started crying of blood down my pallid face. Pallid face. Yeah, she always says pallid. That reminds me of that Boyd Rice song, Total War. He's like, "Do you stand on this pallid night?" Draco confronted me. When we went back to the castle, Dumbledore took us to Professor Snape and Professor McGonagall. Oh, so they were like, so Dumbledore caught them having sex, and like,
Right.
apparently Dumbledore is gay. So is it like he's taking them off to sex ed or something? Like, it's how dare you, demanded Professor Snape.
You ludicrous fools! He shouted, and she spells it ludicrous like the rapper.
Oh my god, really? No, what's funny is that like they're treating it as if Draco like essayed her, but it was like consensual. So it was like, I guess, like, see, this was like the 2000s. They had a much different, like, this was before
The Me Too
slut
movement.
walk and the Me Too movement. So like they had a different, like, it was much more of like a teen love concept of romance and sexuality
Yeah, it was
before.
very, think
Yeah,
almost like Romeo and Juliet esque.
before that was problematized as,
Right.
yeah, as Me
It
Too
was
and
it
shit.
was seen it like, yeah, the star-crossed lovers who can't be together. That was so romantic for goth
Yeah,
kids.
that was like everything. That was like the soft, sensitive, goth boy. But he also did have like a stream of toughness because for some reason, like the soft, sensitive goth boy could also beat up the jocks. It was like a very much like a female fantasy type of thing. Although I don't know. I mean, I guess jocks were still around at this time.
Oh
I
yeah,
guess, yeah, like chuds were still around. Like it's just that, you know what I mean? Like it was different. Man,
it was a different time.
it was a different time, yeah. So My Immortal, should we read another part? Because like
Yeah, why not? Why not?
the
I've already
the
subjected the audience to so much. Why not subject them to more?
because at the end there was like this big confrontation and there's just like so much. There's
Yeah,
not really.
let's skip all the way to the end.
Okay, so this
The
is
last chapter, chapter 44. I got it up if you want me to read it.
yeah, read it, yeah.
All right, author's note. Well, I have nothing to say, but everyone stop glammin', okay? If any gothic people are reading this, then you rock. OMG, I still can't wait for the movie.
Wait. She spells it Emmanuel Kant.
Yeah. Tom Fletton is so hot, lol. I hop Harry will become gothic cause me friend told me he is really emo in this book. OMFG, I'm leaving W pretty soon. Can't wait. This
She's leaving George W. Bush.
I don't know.
This was the Bush administration, so yeah.
This will probably be the last chapter until I come back. Maybe
Come
Washington.
back.
That's me car, shooted Draco angrily. But suddenly it was revealed who was in the car. It was Snape.
Oh!
I shall free you, Lupin. But first you must help me kill these idiotic dunderheads, he said cruelly from the car as it flew circumcising above us.
The car was circumcising.
Circumamcising above us.
Oh my god.
Ebony Darkness, Dementia Ravenway must be killed. Den the Dork Lord shall never die.
He's
You
like Revenge of the
fucking,
Nerds. He's preventing. Yeah.
you fucking prep, yelled Draco. Then he looked at me sadly. I forget to tell you, Ebony. Snape made me do it with him. I didn't really have sex him, but he's a rapist.
Oh no! Oh, me too. Oh,
We
Snape.
all put
Yeah.
our clothes on quickly except Satan. We were so scared. But Satan didn't change. Instead, he changed into a man with gren eyes, no nose, a gray robe, and white skin. He had changed into Voldemort.
111. Yeah, that was a popular leet speak for like scene chicks like XD Raw or 111.
Yep.
That was it's funny because like in the My Immortal she calls it Stanism because she didn't know how to write Satanism. Stanism, Anton Stan LaVey. Anyways, yeah, go ahead.
I knew who thou were all along, he cackled evilly and sarcastically at me. Now I shall kill thee all. Thunder came in the room. No, please, don't kill us, pleaded Vampire. Suddenly, Willow, Bloody, Bloody Mary, Diabolo, Ginny, Dracula, Fred and Gorge, Hagrid, McGonagall, Dumbledore,
Dumbledore.
some Sirius and Lucian all ran in. What is the meaning of this?
The whole crew ran in, yeah.
Dumbledore asked all angrily, and Voldemort looked away because Dumbledore is the only wizard. Wizard, we got
Wizard.
what's his name?
Hogwarts has a racially homogeneous society. They do not let muggles in to Hogwarts.
A wizard.
A wizard is only a wizard in a racially conscious context. Jared Taylor giving a lecture.
I'm definitely not putting this on YouTube. This will be a podcast only. You get to be you and Gabe and Cap are the only ones that have podcasts.
You could probably put this on YouTube.
Yeah, probably. He did a spell, and suddenly his broomstick came to him sexily.
Whoa!
Voldemort, with an X, flew above the roof evilly on his broomstick. Oh my goth, Slugborn.
Oh my god!
Get it? 'Cause I'm gothic?
It's spelled with 3 F's and 1 K.
And don't forget get it, like Reddit.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's right. Reddit was around at this time.
The Dark Lord shall kill all of you. Then you must submit to him. Snape ejaculated menacingly.
This is so like transparently femgooner. Like this is porn dialogue.
Oh no. You fucking preppy fags. Sirius shouted angrily.
Oh, I'll never get away with this nowadays.
I know a 4-letter word for dirt. Cruciatus, screamed Harry, but the sparks from his wand only hit Draco's car. It fell down, Snap quickly crawled out of it and picked up Cydio camera.
Cydio camera?
The Cydio camera, sorry. So, video camera, I guess.
Oh my fucking god.
I cried because the video of me in the bathroom.
The
video of me doing it with Draco and the video of Satan doing it with.
So for context, she had a 3-way with Draco Malfoy and Satan. They went to hell. They got Satan, like the fucking South Park Satan, to do a 3-way with them.
And then that turned out to be Voldemort.
And Voldemort was secretly filming it as a revenge prawn. So Voldemort, like Ethan Ralph, revenge porn, like this 3-way.
If you kill me, then these videos will be shown to everyone in the. It says skull. I imagine she means school.
Yeah.
Then you can
Scrolls.
be just like that gothic girl, Paris Hilton.
Oh
He
God.
laughed meanly.
Oh, I get it because Paris Hilton was like the total opposite of the god. Paris Hilton was the god of the preppies. So
Right.
yeah.
No, I screamed. FYI, I have the picture of you doing it with Lupin.
Oh
What's
man.
she talking, Abbott? Lupin slurped as he sat in chains. I saw too. She's gonna show everyone the picture. Harry shouted angrily. Shut up, Lumpkin roared.
Fucking right.
Foolish ignoramuses, yielded Voldemort from his broomstick. Thou
Oh.
shalt all die, like DYE, soon.
Did she like? She probably went on like Urban Dictionary, but like it's funny how they're trying to mutually me too each other. They're trying to like mutually revenge porn each other. It's like this was a common movie like sitcom plot, by the way, back in the day before you could get away with stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like, they did this even on, like, 2.5 Men all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh my
let's
god.
see, "Think again, you fucking muggle poser," Harry yelled, and then he and Diablo and Naval both took out black guns. But Voldemort took out one his own.
They're fucking wizards. Why do they need guns?
You know what? Because this is an American wrote this. You guys are in a Latin standoff.
Oh, Latins.
I shouted despairingly.
Despairingly, but
No,
despairedly. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna spell this word. DESPARIEDRLY.
Really. Really. Remember, really was very popular.
Yes, the stupid
Yeah.
owl, I remember.
Yeah.
Acco Neville's wand, cried Voldemort, and suddenly Neville's wind was in his hands. Now I shall kill thee all, and Evany, you will die. He made MAID lightning come all over the place. Save us, Ebony, Dumbledore cried. I cried sexily. I just wanted to go to the common room and slit my wrists with me friends
Oh.
while we watched Shark Attack 3 and Saw 2 and do it with Draco. But I knew I had to do something more impotent.
Impotent.
Abracadabra, I shooted.
Oh my god.
The end.
That's how it ended. Like there was no real ending. There was like, you know what I think? I think like she was just like she was in a goon state and she was typing with one hand furiously. And that's why there's like so many spelling mistakes because it's just like there's so many allusions to sexuality here.
Illusions.
Like every little like it like it really is sort of like a first of like a smut talk type
Could
of
you,
text.
I honestly I could see this being sent to a publisher today, and they're like, we can buff that out in editing.
Yeah. No, because like there was something inherently like fetishistic about these subcultures that a certain segment of like very like lonely young girls that then grew up into like millennials, like
The
aging
worst of all
millennials.
fates. I
The
think
worst of all.
I think you made this, but it was either you or your wife's son Gabe who made this point on a podcast once. But it was that these people had no like the reason that they have to stay children forever. It might have even been Tim Dillon who was talking about Disney adults. Anyway, like uh they have no experience with sexuality, right? They
Right.
try to stay children forever, and then that ends up they smuttify what are things that are meant for children.
Yes.
Like they sexualize that which is for children.
Sedipalized, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Because they desperately want to stay in Never Never Land.
Well, it's a form of polymorphous perversity, essentially, what Freud called it. Like, where infantile sexuality translates into very, like, somatizing objects of pleasure that then get grafted onto sexual significance. So, the Disney adult, like, there's fucking people that get married at Disney now. There's people that, like, if you are kind of like, I
I went to Disney once as a kid. I'm good.
yeah, I never went to Disney as a kid, but
You didn't miss much.
yeah, no, no, but what I like, I know the experience of like growing up like as a awkward chud incel, but I think that if you're like an awkward young girl and you have all these thoughts and you don't know how to express them and you're sort of like a wallflower and you're kind of like a femcel and you don't have the same like attention to detail that other girls have. Like it's so uh, I think like growing up as a sort of like a grody, awkward girl who is into this type of stuff, like it's terrible. Like it's it's not there. It's the analog to like growing up as an incel and being like totally not a sexual, not like an object of desire. Because I think like the lack of being desired is
Yeah,
yeah.
these girls were practice girls, as they're
Yes,
referred
or
to, and I think that
yeah,
really fucked them up.
that really fucked them up because it's like what Kat said one time, no, numerous times, but one time years ago, where she's like, an incel is totally erased from the sexual marketplace. I hate that term, sexual marketplace, but for lack of a better term, an incel is a non-entity. But a femcel is, as a practice girl, is like that's in some ways, I'm not going to say even worse, but in some ways, it's in some cases could be even worse because you're basically used as a body as a whole.
Yeah, you're
And
and
yeah,
almost like post college even,
yeah,
they're a spent entity.
yeah, yeah. No, there is a lot of awkward nerd girls that do like they go to college, they kind of slut around a little bit, and they do find somebody like I guess like Ayala girl would be like the like
Why did you bring her up on my
no,
podcast
but
on my
like
perfectly good podcast?
no, but like high IQ nerd girls that then have this like sexual awakening in college, but then eventually instead of becoming Ayala, they then eventually settle down and they like go
They
into some
become Quick
career.
Chungus.
They become Quirk Chungus, but like Quirk Chungus was a practice girl, and there's still like sexual trauma there. But then she finds like some other nerdy guy that's like got money somehow, and then they become Disney adults together. And or like some of them will find like Pizza Shop Chad. Do you remember Pizza Shop Chad?
No, I don't.
That was like the pizza shop guy that like fell in love with a single mother, but then it worked out. It was like a 4chan green text.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, but anyways, like I know like people denigrate that, but like I think like sometimes I don't know, life works out that way, right? But yeah, so I think like this subculture appealed to very horny, very lonely, very media brained young women that grew up as millennials. And then when they grow out of the goth thing, then they adopt like, record shop indie, or they become like Quirk Chunguses, and or they become like I don't know, they'll become like some form of a girl boss, rarely. So whereas like their incel counterparts, they end up like working at gas stations forever. So I don't know. It's very like the millennial is a fundamentally broken psyche because the millennial is growing up in two worlds: a world before the internetization of reality and a world after. So unlike Zoomers who more or less know what it's like, the millennial is sort of like wandering the world as a hungry ghost, and hence why millennial nostalgia is such a powerful force. But I digress. What would you make of this?
I would say, I mean, I think you're right, and I think the utter deluge of barely readable smut that is propping up the mainstream publishing industry these days
Yeah.
would say that your idea is borne out.
Yeah.
Because also it's I don't know any Zoomer women actually, but I don't think they're reading this. I think it's mostly millennial women.
Yeah. No, Zoomer women can't relate to this. That's not their generation. That's not their cultural references either. Maybe Twilight, but not
But
really.
I mean even just the female Gooner books.
Oh yeah, like is it mostly millennial women or are they Zoom?
That's what feels true to me, but I haven't really looked into
I
the
know.
demographics of female
Yeah,
Gooner lit.
I know that there's like female. There's like e-girls. Not to name names, because I'm
Oh
honestly
yeah,
would
you're
never.
not one to name names.
No, because I'm honestly afraid.
Oh, okay.
That they're like e-girls that are into edge culture and that they like are sort of femcells, but then they become like internet edge lords, and then they get into like right wing spaces, and then they like have a lot of very like deviant sexuality type of things going on. There's a few in particular, but let's not get into it. So I think like Zoomer girls have a different relationship to this, but I think like the book talk thing is like it is staunchly a millennial woman phenomenon. And as millennial women get older, it's not going to get any better. So
Only way out is through. So,
yeah,
um,
there are femgooners who are Zoomers though. There are Zoomer femgooners. It's just that
I'll have to
I guess
take
they,
your word for it.
yeah, it's different for them. It's not like but then like these girls, they grew up and they became video essayists, or they became like media market people, or
Lindsay Ellis.
yeah, they became like Lindsay Ellis. Yeah, they became Jenny Nichols. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I will say this. A lot of people shit on wife guys, but I'm happy to be a wife guy. The alternative seems scary.
Oh my god, yeah.
Uh, Mr. Penichetti, where can people find your work? How can they support you? And when is your book coming out?
Hopefully by the autumn. Matthew said that he's going back to editing it. Um, you could find me everywhere. My link tree from my Twitter, twitter.com giant geo, youtube.com/giant productions, patreon.com/giant productions, and of course Substack, Geo's Content Corner. If you want to, pay for every exclusive stuff and the full episodes of Content Minded and a lot of other fun stuff. And yeah, and then I have other things. My Telegram is there. Yeah, so just go to my link tree and all the links are there.
I'll make
But
sure to
patreon.com,
down there. And then
yeah, and like if
you're
you,
also on a couple of podcasts too, right?
yeah. So I co-host the Computer Room with Cat, and of course co-host Digital Archipelago with Prudentialist. So yeah, so and of course if you sign up on Patreon, go to the website. Don't do it through the iOS app. Don't give those bastards 30% of your money on in Apple, but go to the website and sign up there. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm thinking of opening up a Subscribe Star just in case. But
What about
anyways.
a Griff Sneed Grow?
Griff Scam Glow.
That was it. That was it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Is Baked Alaska still on there? That was the best video. I think that was when PvP was still doing the phone videos before he hooked up with Andy Worski. Griff Scam Glow.
Sometimes there are very, very few real moments of brilliance on this hell site that we call
Yeah,
twitter.com. But then there you got to appreciate them when you do see them out there in the ether.
yeah.
So,
Content can striketh at any hour. Yeah.
so this is an extreme pleasure for me. I will definitely have you back on for a serious book,
Oh yeah.
but the opportunity to do a millennial meme like this, I just had to have you on for it.
Yeah, it's really great. My Immortal is a time capsule. And
Uh,
yeah.
as for you, dear listener, if you've made it this far, I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. Uh, this is definitely a an acquired taste. But if you have made it this far, make sure to follow Double Dealer on Substack, on Twitter. If you really like what we're doing, we sell memberships on our Substack. $8 a month gets you, all sorts of things. You'll get your own episode of Canon Fodder on whatever book you want. You can also buy a magazine. Issue 13 is out. It's been called the best issue that we've had yet, and I tend to agree. I don't know how to end podcasts, so I'll say insert ending here.